In the shadows where we rise, voices echo truth on high. Each heartbeat, no war cry. Break the chains, defy the lies. When the dust settles down, only justice wears the crown. Stand tall, don't turn away. History's us is here to stay. Don't let them stifle your flame. Fight for your place in the game. Don't let them stifle your flame. Fight for your place in the game. Chasing dreams on broken streets. With every step, our heart beats. Pride and struggle intertwined.
Black excellence is not the same as Black people who are excellent. Black excellence is a fable. Black excellence is a feel-good anecdote that blinds us from ugly realities. Black excellence is a Negro spiritual of brighter days as the Delta bonds chain to skin. Black people who are excellent are what is and what will be. Recently, I was watching a video of a Black police officer who recorded her frustrations regarding responding to a Black teen takeover. I don't know what city. She never says what city she works in. She's obviously a police officer. And she was saying that I don't know if it was her agency that the Black teenage takeover happened in, or she was one of the supporting agencies. But this takeover was so large, she says, she reports that the takeover, the Black teenage takeover, was about 1,000 teenagers. 1,000 teenagers. She reported that these teens were damaging property, being an overall public nuisance. She even said that they were having sex in the alleyways. They were twerking in the middle of the street, holding up traffic. And again, she doesn't say what department she represents or what city or municipality this happened in. And it doesn't really matter because we know these Black teenage takeovers are happening all across America. So it doesn't matter where this particular one happened. They're happening, and one is too many. They're happening, and one is too many. These Black teen takeovers, and notice I'm not saying teen takeovers, because when you see the videos of this chaotic behavior, the only people that you see in these videos are African American teenagers, and some of those young people were not even teenagers. Some of these young people are what do you call them? Tweens? Is it tweens? They're 12, 11. Yes. I mean, imagine being a Black police officer trying to serve your community, trying to do some good, facing all of the interference you have to face as a Black police officer, right? Facing all the challenges, all the racist challenges, the bigotry, all the stereotypes. She's a female, so she has to deal with the stereotypes of being a woman. She has to deal with the stereotypes of being a Black woman. She has to deal with all the stuff, all these things. She has to deal with the politics. She has to deal with the social aspect. She has to deal with all of these things that Black folk get lumped into, and she's trying to fight as a Black woman, as a Black person. She's trying to say, hey, look, we are not these things. We are not the savages you make us out to be, and then she has to respond to approximately 1,000 black teenagers twerking in the middle of the street, holding up traffic, being a public nuisance, scaring elderly people, damaging property, sitting on people's cars, trespassing on people's property, scaring young people who are in the houses, scaring parents. I mean, these black teenage takeovers are nothing more than an upgrade. They're an upgrade to the black teen smash and grabs that's been happening over the last couple of years. I mean, the pot has been boiling for a very long time. I mean, that pot has been on and has been boiling, and it's boiling over, and it has been boiling over, but black folk won't even address it. You're more concerned about that than you are black teenage takeovers. I mean, you would think that Ben Crump, you would think that Al Sharpton, you would think that all these black folk and even white folk who jump on these racial bandwagons, these race pimps, you would think they would come in and talk about it and try to figure out what was going on. No, what's going on? No, 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 no. They act like it doesn't exist. I agree with the thing is this female officer was saying. She was asking, where are the black parents? Where are your parents? Where's the black parents? How do you how do you allow your child to leave the house looking like a prostitute? She was saying that these young ladies who were obviously 13, 14, maybe in some cases 12, 11 years old were wearing skirts that weren't even skirts. You could see their underclothes. They were standing in the middle of the street twerking. You could see all their wares, as my dad used to say. You can see all her wares. How do you know? How do you not know that your daughter's in the street looking like that? How in the so-called black community someone not say, I know your mother does not know you're outside the house looking like this? I mean, she knows someone in this video. It may have some value to link this video to this conversation. She was even saying she was noticing adult black males, and I'm pretty sure nowadays with the freaky nature that's going on, probably with some adult black females out there also. But she specifically said that there was adult black males who were watching these little girls, who were obvious little girls, acting as if, I guess, identifying as being older, because that's a thing now, right? You get to identify and getting their kicks off. They were just sitting there watching these little girls twerk in the streets from alleyways, from doing, I think that's the terminology, unspeakable acts in alleyways. I mean, what do you expect when you have Cardi B's? When 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 black women, especially black young women, have been sexualized to the point where they believe this is their identity, who they are, where they're more concerned about getting the latest makeup so they can look like a prostitute than they are concerned about becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a school teacher or a nurse. Kept their eye off the prize. Black folk have kept their eyes off the prize for a very long time. And the central point, and this black officer, she did not say this, but she did say that there is no black excellence. She did not say there is no black community, which everyone knows that's my position. You cannot have black excellence if there's no black community, right? But she specifically made the point that black excellence does not exist, and that's what I want. That's what I want to tackle today. This idea that black excellence does not exist. There is no black excellence because there are no black people. I mean, black communities have have become extinct, and they have been extinct for a very long time. See, there's no black community because there are no black people because the community has died long ago, decades ago. I mean, it's like the towns of the Rust Belt, where all these little small towns, they're just no longer there. There's no one living there any longer. Everything is just a time capsule, right? Maybe one or two people still live there holding on, but you can't call it a community anymore. It's just capsule. Because so it's not the town of Little Bridge anymore. That is no Little Bridgians. Why? Because there's no more Little Bridge. It's the same thing that has happened to black communities. There's no more black communities because there are no more black people. The black people of the 20th century are gone. The black people of the 19th century are gone. They no longer exist. Everyone talks about Black Wall Street. That Black Wall Street mentality is gone. That grit, that resolve from the 19th and 20th century, that is extinct. That is a dinosaur. It doesn't exist. It's an antiquity. Yes, you might see little ones here or there, but for the most part, it's extinct. It's like when an animal becomes extinct, right? It gets to the point where there's only one or two left, and you just call it extinct. It goes from endangered to extinct. Extinct doesn't necessarily mean that there's zero. It just means that zero is coming down the pathway. And that's what has happened to black folk. There are no black folks. There are no black folks because there are no more Negroes. See, Negroes kept communities going. So, what is a community? A community means there are self-produced and self-reaffirming institutions that were and are created and maintained by the community at large. That's not what you have today. What you have today are ghettos. They are not self-produced and they're not self-reaffirming. There are no institutions. There are no organizations that are self-produced and self-reaffirming by the people who live in those areas. You can't call those communities. You call them ghettos. See, the black church have gotten out of that business long ago, about 3 decades ago. The black church has gotten out of the community being the cornerstone of the community. They've gotten out of that business. Why? Because all those people, all those black folks, those Negroes, which I call them, who were your black shoemakers, your black grocers, your black dentists, your black PCP primary care physicians, your black accountants, they all left. When integration came down the pipe, they left. They went to be with the white folk. They went to be with the white folk. And so they left the people who were not entrepreneurs, who were not rainmakers, who were not community maintainers, who were not entrepreneurs to look for handouts from the government, to look for other people, other groups of people to come in. That's why when you go in the hood now, there's Korean grocers, there's Arab grocers, there are Russian grocers, there are banks that are not community banks, if they're even banks. And they're not even, and when I say grocers, they're not really grocers. They're providing some type of grocery to that hood, but they are foods that we know are not healthy, that we know they are not fresh. Why? Because they're not serving their people. So why go to the hassle of serving fresh foodstuffs to people who don't even care about themselves, who can't even maintain themselves, who allowed them into that hood in the first place? So yeah, we just go to the wholesaler, we buy some expired stuff, we sell it to these guys, and we sell it to them at a premium. Again, the black church got out of the business because all the black people left after integration. So the black church followed those people because those people were the ones who paid tithes and offerings. Those people are the ones who maintain the church, who support the ministries. Those people are the ones that allow the black, and who have allowed for decades, for over a century, black pastors to thrive. Look up your history. Look at your black history. A lot of black people, especially black men, mainly black men, went into the ministry because they could be supported by the community at large. So they became pastors, and they would be supported by the community at large because the black church was the cornerstone of community, made up of black rainmakers, black business people. But today in 2026, where are the black banks? Where are the black hospitals? Where are the black schools? Where are the black grocery stores and supermarkets? Where are the black pharmacies? See, when I was coming up, it was, oh, let's call it a dying community. We at least had still some black dentists, very few, far in between. We had a black grocery store, which was super pride. We had a black newspaper, which was the African American or the Afro American. But today they're all gone. So where are your black supermarkets? Where are your black pharmacies? Where are your black hardware stores? Where's the black newspaper that black people actually pay subscriptions to? Where are your black recreational centers that are not ran by the municipality, but are ran by black institutions? Not by the municipality, not by local government, but the ones ran by black institutions that can offer real education, authentic learning transactions to black young people. I mean, if you go into the hood, almost any hood in America, you will struggle to find a black liquor store. Yeah, I mean, maybe less than 5% in a black area have a liquor store that's owned by a black person, and probably less than that that's owned by an African American. Because if it's owned by a black, he's more than likely going to be African descent, meaning he was born in Africa and has a second nationality or a first nationality. Like for instance, in Baltimore, a lot of the black stores before I left were ran by Ethiopians. So you don't even see black cut rights. Let's call them cut rights, right? Ran and owned by African Americans. You rarely see that. I mean, that's a dime in a dozen. You rarely see a black nightclub owned by an African American. And let's not even talk about black hair products where the girls get their weaves and their wigs. I mean, we know that most of those establishments are not owned by black people. More than 90%, I would say. I mean, Madam C.J. Walker is Simone Biles, if you get that reference. Madam C.J. Walker is Simone Biles. I mean, there is no community if there's no opportunity to self-actualize. Self-actualization is a destination, not an entitlement. So when you have a community that is based on entitlements, where people feel entitled, believe that they're owed something, believe that they want, we need reparations, or we need programming, and we need funding, and we got to write this grant, and I'm a grant writer, and I work for this nonprofit. When that is the thinking, when you have black people going to university, graduating from university, and coming out starting nonprofit organizations as a way to be entrepreneurs, because the mentality is somebody owes us something. So instead of starting a business, a for-profit business, you want to start a nonprofit because you believe that black folk have some entitlements due. You can't self-actualize when someone is giving you something. You cannot self-actualize from entitlements. Skin folk and kinfolk. Skin folk don't mean that you're kinfolk. That is true. Skin folk ain't nobody kinfolk. And that just doesn't go for black people. That goes for everyone. I don't see or know any group of people who believe that they are owed something or that they're automatically family members of somebody else from that same group. No, you don't see white folk. You don't see Spanish speaking people. You don't see even Jews. You don't see even other Africans automatically call each other brothers and sisters in a way that African Americans do, and have this kind of contract, this kind of unwritten contract that's not enforceable. What you do see amongst groups is a mutual respect for one another that black folks don't have for one another. You do see that mutual respect for one another from the same group or social identity that black Americans don't have for one another. This is why when we have a disagreement, we automatically go to yelling, shouting, screaming, shooting, stabbing, throwing fisticuffs to one another, because we don't have that mutual respect, but we live this myth. And it falls under the umbrella of this black excellence that I mentioned earlier. We have this myth that there's some type of something that's old, some type of ethnic contract that just simply doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's folklore. Skin folk ain't nobody kinfolk. And it's been that way for a very long time. It's just words. It's an antiquity. It's something that we like to believe. It's something that we like to believe, but it's not a reality. It is simply not a reality. And Black folks we need to understand that just because somebody else is Black, they don't have any obligation to you. And it's been that way even before the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was not this kumbaya moment where all Black people got together. No, there's a lot of folks who did not like Martin Luther King. Lots of them. There's a lot of Black folks who disagreed with his nonviolence position. There's a lot of Black folks who didn't like the fact that he was associated with communism. There's a lot of Black folks who were already doing good work in their local communities, and they felt that King was a distraction. So this idea of skin folk ain't nobody's kinfolk, that has been around for a very long time. And this notion that somehow you are a person is letting the race down or turning their back on the race or the group, that's idiotic. That may have been the thing during Jim Crow, but we're long away from Jim Crow. These Black takeovers are a sign that there is no Black excellence. Because if there was Black excellence, Black folk who are excellent would be demanding a brighter day through actions and finances. And we're not just talking about one or two. We're talking about it being a community requirement. So no, there is no Black excellence. Because if there was Black excellence, if there was truly Black excellence, and if that was a real thing and not the myth that is currently is, then Black folks would not accept these Black teenager takeovers. They would not tolerate it. There would be action, not acting like they don't exist, not accepting what the media does and just call it teenage takeovers. When there ain't no white folk or Hispanic folk or Asian folk, teenage folk in that group, but Black African Americans. Not even this is African Americans. That's how you know there's not a community. Because if there's a community, the Black excellence will rise above it, would address it, would create institutions, would create policies and structures and thought systems within that community that would alleviate that nonsense. It would be addressed. It would be extinguished, just like you call the firefighter to extinguish a fire. It would be compulsory for members of Black excellence to not tolerate it. That's how you know there's no Black community and there's no Black excellence. So what you do is do not confuse Black excellence with Black people who are excellent, because they are two different ideological concepts. A Black person who is excellent may not see themselves as Black or may choose to distance themselves from the Black group, which we see a lot of. It happens, and it's been happening for decades, ever since integration came down the pipe. You go to college, you get the hell out of the hood. You don't come back. I mean, the greatest example of this is the 1968 documentary, Still a Brother, that poignantly highlights this phenomenon. I mean, please note that in 1968, 5 million Black folks were firmly considered as being middle class. I mean, that was a quarter of the Black American population. 5 million. So this idea that skin folk ain't your kinfolk hasn't really been a thing, but window dressing for a long time. It's just window dressing. This idea that somehow your skin color makes you, it obligates you to the nonsense. Black excellence is a concept that feels good. It's a feel good concept and allows Black folks to say that we are all not like that. That's what Black excellence does. That's not my child out there shaking her butt like that. My kid is he got A's in school. And no, and we all not like that. However, Black excellence is interference. It's interference. It's an obstacle because it reduces the standard. Black excellence as a concept marginalizes and even suppresses Black folks' ability to rise above their circumstances. Because you have this idea of Black excellence. We're all not like that. Look, my cousin, she went to college. She's a nurse right now. Look at Barack Obama. Look at LeBron James. They call him the king. And all that does is it marginalizes and suppresses Black folks' ability to rise above their circumstances. The interesting thing about it is we have the Bible for this. We have Carter G. Wilson's The Miseducation of the Negro, who outlined this over 100 years ago. He told us this. All we got to do is pick up his book and read it. Carter G. Wilson speaks about this very point in The Miseducation of the Negro. In fact, the follies of Black exceptionalism is a central theme of the book. If you really read the book, it's the central theme of a book, warning us to not be enamored by the illusion of Black exceptionalism. Being the only Black in the office, being the first Black. In 2026, you still have people talking about this is the first Black person to do this and this is the first Black person to do that. And what that has allowed was Black folks now cannot keep their eyes on the prize. Remember that series, Eyes on the Prize? Black folk cannot keep their eyes on the prize, which is never about being the first, which is never about being the only. In 2026, Black folks are still distracted by Black exceptionalism. Instead of proficiency and maintenance. Therefore, Black excellence becomes a placebo while the cancer continues to grow. As a result, there are scores of Black youth, scores of Black children who are captured, or excuse me, who are not captured in that miniature net of Black exceptionalism. Let me demonstrate. See that net of Black exceptionalism is very small. It's the first, it's the only. Very few will get in. It's the net of black exceptionalism. Let me give you an example. Approximately 70 to 90 rookies are drafted or contracted in the NBA every year. I mean, that is black exceptionalism. But you ever think that there are thousands of college players and G leaguers and overseas players that are competing for those 70 to 90 spots? Let's call it 100 spots. Let's call it 100 spots. Think about the thousands of college players, G leaguers, and overseas players who can ball their asses off. They're competing for 100 spots a year. Let's take it a step further. Think about the dreams of hundreds of thousands of high school players, 15 and 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds who can ball, who can hoop their asses off, who think they're going to the NBA. And there's only going to be approximately 100 spots. Now let's take it a step further. Think about the millions of 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds and mamas and daddies who are putting their kids in basketball camps and recreational centers, all do in summer programs, all throughout America, with the hopes and dreams that their little baby is going to become the next LeBron James, the next Shaq, the next Michael Jordan, the next Kobe. And there's only approximately 100 slots. I mean, black folks are going to the bank so they can become NBA and NFL superstars. Black folks are banking, are putting their hopes and dreams on 100 slots here and 100 slots there, a couple hundred slots in the NFL, as a way of transforming their condition instead of focusing on authentic education, an education that stabilizes individuals and builds communities. Stabilizing individuals and building communities. How many black folk do we have? And I'm not saying there's none, but again, it goes back to that exceptionalism thing. How many black folks, how many black 11th graders and 12th graders and fourth graders, 11th graders and 12th graders, or not, excuse me, that's too old. How many black sixth graders and seventh graders and eighth graders are thinking about becoming the next Neil deGrasse Tyson? Huh? What's that brother's name? Black astronaut. Victor, that's right. Victor Glover. Victor Glover. Victor Glover. How many black third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, sixth graders want to be the next Victor Glover? Anybody wants to be the next LeBron James? You cannot base a community. That's not going to stabilize community because those folks, guess what? Are going to be living in the hills in the hills of Beverly Hills. Those folks are going to live in mansions, and they're not going to be they're not connected to the community. Who wants to be the next dentist? The next heart surgeon? See, we kept our eyes off the prize. And when you keep your eyes off the prize, everything goes into disarray. Everything becomes chaotic. Keeping your eyes off the prize enables nonsense. keeping black folks keeping their eyes off the prize enabled about 14 of black eighth graders being able to read proficiently. And this statistic was sent out by the National Assessment of Educational Progress in a recent report card, nationwide report card. Only 14% of black eighth graders can read at a proficient level. Only 17% of black fourth graders can read at a proficient level. And so you have to link that. You have to link that because we know literacy is everything. Link that to the black STI, STD rates. Black teenagers are have the highest prevalence of every STI that they record. And this includes herpes, HIV, HPV, chlamydia, gonorrhea. Just think about that. You got 17% of black fourth graders can read at a proficient level. 14%. This comes from the National Assessment of Educational Progress. These are the big boys. They give a nationwide report cards. 14% of black eighth graders can read at a proficient level. But meanwhile, the 86%, you see that 14 to 17%, that's black exceptionalism. That's the black exceptionalism that we go, see, we ain't all bad. We ain't all terrible. But meanwhile, you have 86% of those young people are left behind. 86%. Because I'm going to tell you, that 14%, that 17% of black kids who could read at a proficient level, they're not getting STDs. They're not getting STIs. They're not getting herpes. They're not getting HPV. They're not getting chlamydia. They're not getting gonorrhea. I'll tell you that right now. The black kids who are getting it, the black teenagers who lead in every group in America, who have the highest prevalence of STIs, coming from that 86% who are reading below a proficient level. That's the reality. And you can get mad at me for being the messenger. Everyone is angry. Everyone's angry. But the question is, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with that anger? And the better question is, what are you angry about? What are you angry about? Are you angry at this female police officer who herself is angry? She herself is angry that her skin folk are acting like savages in front of her white colleagues, in front of her Spanish speaking colleagues, in front of her Asian colleagues, that these black teenagers are conforming to stereotypes as she's trying to fight against them. Are you angry because there's no one to blame but a systematic failure of African Americans to act independently of chaos and destructive behavior? Is that why you're angry? I mean, are you mad at the black politicians, the black educators, the black entertainers, the black medical practitioners who continue to act cowardly and ignore the elephant in the room? Are you mad at them? I mean, I know you're mad at me because I'm the messenger. The messenger always gets shot. Oh, he's a sellout. He a coon. He a Toby. He's a troll. He's a sellout. You mad at me? I don't care because I'm not affiliated. So I don't care. Are you mad because you know that black folks have been bewitched by currency? This is a phrase coined by my brother Shamangaliso, and he is truly my brother. And this being bewitched by currency has affected black teens, causing them to go out in the middle of the street and shake their ass with skirts on that show everything, that show their wares, that make them look like prostitutes. Are you mad because you know in your heart of hearts that that black cruise liner has run aground? It's taken in by water, and now it sits at the bottom of the bay, with just a portion of the stern, just a portion of the stern visible from the harbor. And the captain refuses to admit that the ship is lost because you can still see the stern. That ship is not lost. You can still see the stern. Meanwhile, you have black folk in the water drowning. You have black bodies just suffocating the bay. But the captain says, no, the ship is not lost because you can still see the stern. The stern is still sticking out. That's black exceptionalism. That stern still sticking out. Meanwhile, the rest of the ship is lost. The reality is that black folks must embrace the rant of that police officer, that black female police officers, and other black folks like myself who are not affiliated but still actually care about you, who refuse to carry the torch of lies and deception to earn a spot in becoming exceptional. Do you know how many times I could have left Negroes or black folk just totally alone and took that route of exceptionalism? I was in the, the perfect places to turn my back on black folks and just ride that wave of black exceptionalism. And like a fool, I didn't do it. Like a fool. See, what needs to happen is there must be a needs analysis. We must determine the gap and create instruction that is self-referenced education that speaks to the wants, needs, and expectations of the marginalized, the thirsty, and the hungry. If not, if not, the marginalized will ideologically, excuse me, if we don't create that needs analysis, if we don't get that authentic instruction, if the education is not self-referenced, what's going to happen is more and more black folk like me will begin. You're going to start to see more and more black folks ideologically shed their melanated skin openly. You're going to have more black folk like me who will say, I'm not affiliated. And they're going to say it louder. They already exist. They're already there. They're just quiet. And they have been quiet for decades. But soon, and you're starting to see it now via social media, soon you will see more and more black folks say, listen, I'm not with this. There's going to be more and more of me who say, I'm not affiliated. And that's going to mean when the numbers get really high, that's going to be truly alienating for those black folk who are marginalized, who are truly marginalized. Because what's going to happen is it's going to produce a permanent, self-induced, untouchable caste. A permanent, self-induced, untouchable caste will be created. And then that's when it really will look tragic. It's tragic now, but that's when, what was the bird, the doo-doo bird, the dodo bird that's no longer exists? That's what you're going to see happen. I'm going to end on this note. A community should ultimately be judged not by the number of exceptional individuals it produces, but by the strength, independence, and permanence of the institutions it builds and maintains. Until we have a mindset, until black folk have, there we go with this we again, until black folks have a mindset of building and maintaining, it will stay and continue to be tragic.